Hello, Graham.
Well, it's splendid to see you. It's lovely.
You too. For those of you who don't know, and for those of you who do, we have a Patreon page. It is a place where you can go to make small monthly donations that let us know that you're invested in this program continuing as much as we are. Thank you so much to those who are already over there contributing. And if you're not already, it is patreon.com/tea@3. I will have a link down below that you can click and that'll send you right over there. Thank you for even considering doing that. And welcome back, everyone, to Tea at 3, Looking for Good. I am Faye Schmidt, and this is Mr. Graham Kerr. For those of you, yeah, Mr. Graham Kerr today.
Oh, Mr.
For those of you who don't know, this is a program where Graham Kerr and I get together from being 60 years apart in age to talk about this series. Looking for Good is focusing on the idea of looking for good consistently and as hard as it is to continually do over and over again in order to find good in the world, do good of our own, and see that the world is becoming a better place, and in order to be encouraged to continue that fight moving forward. Oftentimes we come into this program with having found something very good that has happened in our last week, and then we often get distracted and just talk about whatever. So welcome back if you're already someone who has been watching, and welcome if you're new.
Well, just look at you. You said we often get distracted. I
have gotten just as distracted.
That's all right. If the cap fits, I'll wear it. Yeah, no problem. So I had this overwhelming desire to hear from you at the top of this program this week.
Graham, I have to say, okay, I'm going to bet that we're going to have something very, very similar to say, because the thing that I see in your background right now, is that a stationary bike?
Yes.
Okay, literally last week I ordered a bike trainer and it got here a couple days ago and we just set it up. It's one that you attach to a bike that you already have, but we just set it up and started. It's such a good thing to have in the winter, especially since it just started dumping snow outside. It's weird because it's a regular bike and so you feel like you're riding a regular bike, but it's very consistent, so it doesn't feel like going for a bike ride. Okay. But it is very, very helpful for.
In other words, you get on your bicycle and you put this bicycle on that unit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's neat. Well, I had to put this whole darn thing together.
Oh, no.
And I had to try and work out a time when I could do that because we've had no power for 2 weeks. 2 days.
Oh, goodness. Because of the windstorm, right?
And, I have a fairly dark apartment which needs light. So I put it in the background because if I look at it, and I'm so grateful. But the instruction manual is so absolutely correct that you have to be an absolute nut like me to make a mistake with it. I followed it exactly, and it was exactly as I wanted it to do. It has 5 stars that I can put it together. I haven't finished it yet. But I'm almost ready. It's recumbent and it's only $175. Yes!
Nice.
So this is really looking for good. Anyway, so there was I, and I started off again. Darn it.
No, I started it. I just think it's funny that we didn't, it's not like we talked about stationary bikes or finding ways to do exercise or anything. We just so happened to both buy one in the same week and have to put them together. Yeah. That's so funny. Okay, so I don't have a background right now. This is my actual wall for the first time ever because
it's a delightful wall.
Thank you. It's very white and plain because I usually have a green screen here, because I wanted to finally actually get to talk about and show you my plants and not have them disappear. So my friends and I did a Secret Santa where there was this like online thing and we all put our names in it. We clicked it and it gave us our names. And we're never very good at like doing it remotely close to actual Christmas. So yesterday, the doorbell rings and there's a little package and I was like, I'm not expecting a package. And I opened it and like it was like dirt and newspaper. And I was just like, what is in this box? Who sent me dirt and newspaper? And then I finally got it unwrapped and it was this little succulent. It's a little,
yes.
I can actually show you now because it'll autofocus.
It's a succulent, yes.
It's called a donkey's tail or burro's tail. It showed up as like my Secret Santa present for my friend. I was like, wow, it's so great. But because it had been mailed, it had kind of gotten beat up a decent amount. So a lot of pieces fell off and I collected all the little pieces and I looked it up and you can like propagate a whole new one of the little plants from each one of these little leaves and little like nubbin things here. So I collected them all and I have to wait 2 weeks for them to like dry off. But then I'll have like 5 of them or so. So I'm really enjoying the metaphor that, I mean, we've talked about before, but the metaphor of like, this was a gift from a friend that I can now like create more from and give to more people and like not only spread the joy of having a beautiful little plant but also the joy of receiving a gift and like having to take care of something and that being successful. So
that is so cool because in the last 2 days where we've had no power here at all, I have noticed at least 5 of my neighbors that I have been with, even socially distanced and masked and all the rest of it, that I haven't seen for months. So in a sense, the rough tumble through the post that your plant went through is the 2 days of having no power at all for us. Mm-hmm. And 5 neighbors that I've been able to see growth in our relationship with each other. See how that works?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Isn't it?
There was this, when I was in school, there was a huge storm and the power was out for most of the people in Spokane for over a week. At my house, the storm came because a cold front was coming. So everybody's power was out and it was cold. So I think my house got down to like 40 degrees. But it was just a time where like the community came so close together to like help clean everything up because like there's not enough people that do that job to deal with a whole storm in one day. And so it was just a huge way to like bring a community together to like help during a disaster like that.
Yeah.
It's always amazing to see.
I think that was what I was sort of feeling. I thought to myself, I do wish they'd fix it quicker than this because at one stage there was 1 million people on the West Coast who were out of power. And then if you go on to the PUD site here to see the map of outages, it had come down from about 50,000 to 18,000. And we were part of that 18,000. But we still went on for another full day because we were the final bit of outage that was dealt with because several very large old trees fell over several telephone poles and destroyed the poles as well as the rigging and everything else. So it meant that these men and women who were on those wires, which is not an easy job, were working all night for 2 nights to be able to put that back together again. And although it was pretty startling to suddenly get all the lights come on at 12:47 in the morning. You know,
oh, goodness.
Yeah, really. I thought it was going to come on at 1. I told all my friends, it'll be on at 1 o'clock in the morning. You'll see him. And it's only 13 minutes out. But anyway, I finally got round to the fact that these people had been out working hard for a long time, really many hours, I bet. And I didn't once think about them. What I was primarily fussed with was that I didn't have any heat, and I didn't have anything to do this, and I didn't do that. And in the end, the moment when it went on, it came to me that they had done it. I hadn't done anything, and I wish I had, because I'd love to have been praying about the people fixing things at the moment. Then when it went on, I would then say, oh, Lord, thank you for bringing back the light. So I don't know, it's just a thought, and I'm going to store it away for the next time that there's an interruption somehow.
I've been thinking a lot lately about how many things just happen that I'm so used to.
Yeah.
And like, I live in a way that when something is hard, it seems off. Like when the power is out and you can't, I don't know, watch whatever Netflix show you're in the middle of or something like that, or maybe something more important than that. You know, like it seems wrong, like when it's difficult, which is why like you were talking about before, you know, like you used to have to bring cloth bags to the market, and like people delivered milk in glass bottles, and like you set them back out and they refilled them and whatnot. Like that was just, things used to be harder, and I've grown up in a such a like sheltered and convenience focused world that like when things are hard, like having to wear a mask all the time, it's just like, wait, this something feels wrong, even if like just because of I've just gotten so accustomed to how easy things are.
Yes. You know, it's interesting, isn't it? Because what you were saying triggered something in me too, which I love this business of talking with you, because I don't have a whole list of personal agendas. I'm perfectly sure that one thing is going to lead to another. It always seems to. And you're saying this thing, we grow so accustomed to the normal that when an abnormal thing comes, it sort of has a way of getting our attention in a different way than we think. Trina and I once went to Belize in South America, or Middle America, if there's some people call it. And we went there to deliver a micro farm to some people who lived in that area. We had a way of putting a house on stilts on 1/3 of an acre, and of taking the 1/3 of an acre and making it highly productive for a small family. It's a really neat idea. So we did that, and we built that down in Belize on the fairgrounds down there. I don't know where it's gone at the moment, but that's what we did. And when we were down there, we had to stay locally, which we did. We wanted to stay locally. So when the sun went down, you were asleep. That was all there was to it. You know, there wasn't any electric light. As for showering, there was a stream. And we were told there's a small waterfall, only about 3 feet high. You'd go looking for that, and that's where you can soap up and clean off. So we went looking for that, and we got the wrong one. It was a cattle crossing. So we actually we came out of that not exactly the way we did when we went into it. But I think what we did, what was so extraordinary, and Trina said to me, darling, all these people have so little and they're so happy. And it was true. They were not entitled or saw themselves entitled to anything. Mm-hmm. They were just simply living the best that they could and making the best of it. And it was just so amazing. I just loved it. And, you know, such special people. And they're like that, I think, all over the world. And what I'm worried about at the moment, I know I should be looking for good. And I think last time we talked about this, I'm going to have my vaccine delivered into my arm this afternoon at 5:00.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and what I want to do, and I think I mentioned it last time, and I know it sounds so self-righteous, and I don't mean it to be this way, but I'm so very grateful for a chain of supply and demand. Although everybody seems to want to criticize everything and look for the problems, I just look for the good that there is in that. Makes me just a bit more resilient. And if I'm more resilient, I'm more likely to be helpful for other people. But if I'm not taking it, I'm like, I could get sick, and then I'm out of it. Really? Do I really want that? I would like to be in it. I'd like to be a contributor. So anyway, so the only reason I raised that issue is that I want so much to be resilient. I do want to be a contributor. And don't think that the world is there because I'm entitled to them doing things for me. My entitlement is more what do I do for them than what they do for me. I think that's what I've been thinking about. Oh, and I went, that was, I nearly lost it. Well, I went to World Vision and I asked them whether I could make a donation to them to cover the moment that I was getting my vaccine so that it would go to an underprivileged people somewhere in the world. Because they don't have anything at the moment. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to write my check this afternoon for it and made out to World Vision. And when they call me back and tell me it's happening, then I'll be able to share that with you. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've been thinking so much about houseplants. It's keeps reflecting for me back on like, this is a little piece of this earth that we are here to take care of. And the fact that maybe part of it is just that I have plants from too many different climates, but I'm like always so mystified as to how to like care for them properly. And that's kind of similar in that like I'm often mystified into like how to care for the world, the people around me and the world around me properly. But having that like these little, well, okay, so we went away, we were gone for 2 weeks over the holidays, and I have this plant that my friend gave me a piece of that grew enough to live but wasn't growing. And I looked it up and it's supposed to be one of like the fastest growing houseplants that there are. And she gave it to us in July and it's now January. And it only just now started to actually grow up and out. This whole leaf right here was like here when I left like 2 weeks ago. Like all these little pieces at the top, like all of a sudden I'm like, what? When I leave you alone for 2 weeks, all of a sudden you decide to grow. And so I'm just like constantly mystified of it, like, what do my plants actually want? Do they even need me sometimes? Because my other one did this when we left and I had to trim these off because they got all yellow and brown. And so it's just such a fun metaphor for like how to treat people around you also, because each individual person is so radically different and different, acting certain way, right? I don't know how to, I don't want to treat people as objects, so I'm comparing them to plants, but plants are living things too. So, but like each relationship with each person is so different, and different ways that you act around that person will be different results in that relationship and in their life and in your own life. And I don't have like a conclusion here other than just like the world to me is still kind of a constant mystery. And if I think that if I can practice on my wildly varied little houseplants, like treating things in the way that they need to be treated and like focusing on what the plant needs and not what I need from the plant. And so taking that attitude and using that as an inspiration for like how I treat the people around me, like I should treat them based off of what they need, not of what I need from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know, that's a lovely thought. Have you seen the research? You can go online and do it, where they play classical music with houseplants and then rock and roll.
I feel like I've heard it, but I don't. What were the results? Do you
Yeah,
remember?
I saw it years ago. I don't know whether it still exists or whatever, but with classical music, especially piano music, plants do better.
That's so
Yeah.
crazy.
So and what I'm getting from that is I have eyes to see you at the moment and ears to hear you, just about my hearing. But I have another set of eyes and another set of ears which hear beyond what you're actually saying. I'm actually investing between the words, like Yo-Yo Ma says, he knows every note to play, but what he loves about playing is the silence between the notes, which he shares with the audience, anticipating the next note to come and valuing the last note that left, gives him this amazing joy in between each note. So I think that is the same with each other. What you're just describing is we can meet with each other and perceive something that our eyes and ears don't hear about that other person. And that's where we start to love our neighbor as ourselves. We're beginning to know how inscrutably difficult I am. And the fact that I can talk to you and know you're inscrutably different, but I care about you enough to listen. I think that's that next second level. And that's where the relationship to the plants, which you gave me a little while ago, was you prayed for your friends as you watered your plants and cared for them. I've been doing that. And my umbrella plant thing has just grown. It stopped multiplying in season. So it's a bit like your plants as well. I keep on looking at it. It says, when's the next shoot coming out? And it seems to have done enough at the moment and is sort of recovering its health, and then off it goes. But yeah, and I think I mentioned to you some time ago that I did hear, and apparently it's true, that DNA, that double helix thing, that strands that make up our DNA, if you lengthened it out, if you actually made it one strand, it would go all the way to the sun and back 18 times.
My goodness.
That's what you are made of, woven together like that. And it's definitely different from any other human being on the planet. And I think that makes you and I responsible for what we have contained in this body. It's woven together in a special way. But then there's this instinct to care about another woven person that one is with, which is so incredibly important and such a good thing. That's where it's good. It can't stop but being good if we're caring. I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I agree.
I love it.
All right. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. This has been Tea at 3, Looking for Good. We will be back next week with another episode. I am Faye Schmidt. This is Mr. Graham Kerr, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
And one more thing, if you are not already subscribed, please do so, and like the video if you enjoyed watching. Thanks so much.